former town manager here in Colorado. He's served in a number of different locations, and I'll let him tell you about that. But the purpose of this 55-minute discussion tonight is to kind of just get a few things kind of settled on a number of issues related to recruiting and selecting a new town administrator. I think we're going to focus tonight, as my memo highlighted, was the position title, as well as a few other items. Maybe the biggest one, the other big one, is going through that. What are you looking for in a town administrator / manager, a new one? So I think and then you did notice too that we had made some suggestions, recommendations on schedule, geographic scope of the search, and some other items that I thought we could maybe get to tonight. And if we don't get through it all, it's not the end of the world. We'll pick it up next time and we'll just work our way through this. There's no reason to rush or to make any hasty decisions. So, Bill, you can correct anything I've said or start from there, but I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I thank you, Jeff. Oh, now my computer's working. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No. Okay.
Yep, we can still hear you, but now you don't.
Okay.
It doesn't look like you anymore.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to work with you guys. One of the biggest things, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a town manager and a city manager in Colorado for about 25 years. Worked in Avon, Basalt, Frisco, Colorado, Aspen, Colorado, South Padre Island, Texas, and pretty much know the Western Slope, know Silt, know Glenwood, Newcastle, those towns. And I've done quite a few recruitments for smaller towns. And one of the biggest questions that we always ask right away is, what are you looking for? And Jeff put together some questions that I think we can concentrate on. Do they have those questions in front of them, Jeff?
Yes. And they got them on Thursday, so they probably have looked at them.
Okay.
It's attachment.
I moved to Colorado to Meeker originally from South Dakota. So I was in those small towns, and during my recruitments, what we really want to hear from the council is, are you looking for someone with that small town experience in management? Are you looking for someone that can grow and survive in a smaller town? You've got Grand Junction close and Glenwood close, but in the smaller towns, the manager, do you want them involved in the community events? I think most towns do. And it might be easier just to start at the top. Small town experience. Is that pretty much a yes from everybody?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I'd like somebody who's going to be here for 10, 15, 20 years, but that's...
I think we might have lost him. Maybe he's switching from his phone to his computer. I don't know, but he's no longer on the call. I do have somebody named Owner, but I don't know if that's him or not. Would you like me to ask them to unmute and find out who they are?
Yes, please.
Hello?
I'm trying to turn up my volume so I can hear you a little better.
That must be you. So let me make you a co-host, and you would be able to mute and unmute yourself and turn your camera on.
Hey, Bill, I don't know if you can hear us, but we lost you there a little bit. You were talking about small town experience in a management position and whether or not the board felt like that was important, an important
Yes.
characteristic or experience.
And I did hear the part where a manager will stay a longer period of time, which I think is
No offense.
what
to you,
most
Jeff.
towns hope for. But one of the trends that we're seeing in the business is if you can get 3 to 6 years out of a good manager, that's kind of the norm anymore, where it used to be 10 or 15 years. I don't know if it's the politics today in this country or what's causing that, but we're seeing that managers aren't staying as long. And part of it is that the boards that hire them are no longer there. So it's a good thing to hope for, but the nice thing about being a consultant, I can be honest with you.
It makes sense. I mean, you never
Yes,
know when
it
the
makes
board's
sense.
going to turn over, so you never know what the manager's going to be thrown into. They could work great with one board, and the next board is not their style. So,
Exactly.
but as far as small town experience in management, hey, do we have to have someone that has small town experience?
I don't think so.
Or,
The more
I
I
mean,
think about it, I don't think so.
Could it be someone that's managed a small group of people, that's been in charge of 20 people?
Yeah.
Kind of, if you look at the town of Silt, at least the way I look at it, you look at it as a business running
Yep.
apartments. So I don't know if they necessarily have to have town experience or if they just need to have management experience.
Yeah, they need to have management experience. I think that's higher up on the list than just small town.
I think some kind of management experience, but then also having some kind of municipality experience is important because of all the things that you have to navigate it's kind of like one of those things of being a restaurant manager. You don't have to be the best dishwasher. You don't have to be the best. In fact, you shouldn't be the best dishwasher. You shouldn't be the best cook, but you should know how to have some competent knowledge in all areas to be able to know if they're doing their job right or not.
Right.
I think you still need to have the small town aspects, like you said, to participate in the events that are put on by the town, so they have the full effect and the full fill of the people,
Right.
Where opposed to a big town manager is going to be like, I'm just go put that on and see you next week.
See you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like them to have, some sort of degree in public administration, because I guess, Jeff, was this, if you don't mind me asking, this was your first go at town administrator, right? Or if you...
Well, I managed Eagle Vale for
Okay,
8
okay,
years.
so you have, all right.
Although not technically a town, it was by all, by most definitions, it was all the same functions.
Okay.
In fact, I always said it was actually harder because I couldn't.
Can you guys still hear us?
Yes?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Okay, because I can't hear anything on your end. I'm going to switch back to my phone because I can't hear the council. It'll just take 30 seconds. You can keep going, Jeff.
Okay. I always said it was harder because, I couldn't tell Public Works, I couldn't tell Road and Bridge what to do because they worked for the county. I had to cajole them and ask them and, have a good working relationship with them to get things done. So, it was pretty much the same kind of deal.
Got you.
Yeah. Same field of work, just not same title.
Right.
All right.
I just think it's going to be tough to find. I think someone that has the experience. I mean, we might get lucky and find someone that does have the experience, but I think Silt's more an entry level for someone to get into this field of work
Yeah, so it's kind of either entry level or exit level.
or exit level. Yeah.
Somebody that's, I don't mean that negatively, but somebody that's on the tail end that, is looking for a spot to come in
No
and
offense
finish
taken.
out their career. It would be a comfortable spot to do that because there isn't as much as there would be with a town like running Denver or somewhere like that. And someone like that may not be a bad thing because if you're getting 3 to 6 years on average anyway, if you got somebody with some experience coming in, it might be worth it to do something like that. Granted, they may cost a little bit more than somebody that's on the front end. So.
Right.
I think that's probably a pretty good question for Bill when we get him back on here. One thing I would point out is a couple of initiatives of the Colorado City County Managers Association is they've got these, and I think I've got a whole bunch of acronyms on this page. They've got several acronyms involving veterans, women in government, and there was one other one. But so they're trying to grow more people into this line of work. So it could well be someone who is an assistant manager in a slightly larger town, say an Avon or a Basalt or a Snowmass Village or something like that, is looking for their first solo gig. So they might be attracted to Silt, or they would be attracted to Silt
Yeah.
to come out and take a look.
And that's what I was thinking. That's why I asked you that question.
Yeah. Yeah. So, emerging managers is another one they're doing. They're cultivating
Yeah.
folks who, even just right out of college, and they're trying to give them internship sorts of experiences in bigger towns. Not that we're looking for someone that's that wet behind the ears, but it may be somebody who has business experience. Maybe they spent 10 years in business doing something, and then they got into public public administration kind of coursework or something. So, we don't know till we cast about out there to see what's available. Is Bill back with us?
He just came back on.
Okay. Well, if you look at the position description, which is in your packet, and look at the education, training, and experience requirements, maybe that's one way to look at that question, to see if are we close to where we would want to be on that. It's right behind attachment B in your packet. It looks like Sheila's pulling it up right there. If you go down to the second page, education, training, and experience requirements. And then I think we had some language in the agenda item summary also. If you look at attachment A on the first page, where you go down about halfway down, it says develop understanding.
Yeah.
We talk about the 4-year degree in a relevant field of study, minimum of 5 years of increasing responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. So those would be, I think, the things that we're talking about in that question. And one thing that you notice in the job description, the last sentence of that first paragraph, it says, or any equivalent combination of education and experience. That's not necessarily a one-for-one sort of equation. That's if you see somebody you like and you want to make a judgment call on that, you're the decision makers. It's not Bill or me or anybody else. It's the 7 of you as you evaluate candidates, because you've said that you want to be involved from the get-go of getting that first set of resumes. You're going to be in the middle of helping make those determinations. And actually, we have that same sentence in the attachment A version, any equivalent combination of education and experience. So these are the things we prefer, but that's not black and white. Literally, it's black and white, but it's really up to you to make those judgments, because you know better than Anybody.
Well, it also depends on how long we want to look for that I mean, if you look for the person that fits everything exactly, you may never find that person.
Correct.
I feel like we do need to specify some form and duration of experience, right? If somebody gets an MBA, it took them 6 years, they meet that bar. They have 5 levels of educational experience, but they've actually managed literally nothing.
Nobody, right.
Yeah,
So, that-
that's
do you
probably
know what I
would be
mean?
a good
Like, we
candidate.
need to fine tune that a little bit.
Well-
If someone's young, that's one thing, but if they're coming in out of a college education, even if it's an MBA program or community
Recording in
service,
progress.
to me, that may not be a good fit.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100% on that, because, I mean, education can only give you so much.
Well, and you set these standards for the marketing of the position, right? So you don't get every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
And that's exactly
Yeah.
why I'm saying it. I've had to go through this process recently at my day job where we were just getting way, way, way too many applications, and it was a pain in the backside for me to filter through them. And I was like, we got to narrow the top of the funnel. We're getting too many unqualified people slipping through. That if they knew more, they would not have bothered to apply. It's not just wasting my time, it's wasting theirs.
Right.
And in practice, it'll waste all of our collective time if we spread the net too wide, I guess is my point.
Right.
I'd like
Agreed.
to see some level of experience. I would say 2+ years of experience in addition to having an undergraduate degree. I don't care if it took them 4 years, 2 years, or 10 years to get the undergraduate degree. But I don't want time to be the delimiter on that. I think in terms of experience, that's where time should be the delimiter.
No, I agree. And, and on the flip side of the coin, if they've been a town manager for 20, 30 years and they don't have a degree, but they've been successful, then,
Yeah, that
yeah.
proves it.
And they proves
proves
that they,
themselves.
It's just
exactly.
narrowing the net a little bit.
Yeah.
Someone who's been doing it that long is going to know they're fundamentally qualified, and they're not going to let that prevent them.
Yeah.
So is there
Recording stopped.
anything in these two versions of qualifications that you would change or see differently?
I have one that jumped out at me under education, training, and experience. Desire to work beyond the standard 40-hour work week. Maybe that should be availability.
Yeah, because most people don't, I mean.
Right.
don't-
No,
you don't
I
have the
really
desire.
I want to work 60 hours a
yeah.
week. Where do I sign? No, who has said that? That would be no one.
Workaholics only
Right.
apply.
Yeah,
Availability to
work
work.
beyond the standard 40-hour week, yeah.
That's a good word.
One of the other ones I noticed under other skills certification, knowledge of municipal budgeting, analysis, and implementation. Why does it have to be municipal? Budget's a budget.
Well, government budgets are different than corporate budgets. They're different.
They're different in terms of process, but not in terms of result. Budget's a budget.
Well, I'm not the expert on that, but there would be some differences. But if someone has budgeting experience in the private sector, they're not going to have they're going to be able to adapt pretty easily. So your point's well taken.
Yeah, that was my thinking. Someone who's a financial controller at a mid-sized company that says, hey,
Sure.
I'd like to do municipal service.
Yep,
They've managed significant and complex budgets.
correct.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes, sir.
I think even if you take the municipal out, once you start seeing the resumes and you just have knowledging of budgeting analysis and implementation, it's going to work. I mean, it's one of those words that anyone with government experience is going to have. And then once the council starts reviewing the resumes, you'll see the experience and stuff that goes with it. I think it's one of those things that you can live without municipal if you need to.
Yeah, those folks will rise to the top with or without it.
Yeah.
So is there anything else in that I mean, we're really just kind of scratching the surface of that first, well, I guess we're getting into the nitty-gritty on that first question, but what else would you change in that?
I think you pretty much have it covered.
Yeah, it looks
I
good.
think it's a good job description for sure, yeah.
And to Bill's point, if we get 2 applicants, we know we're being too restrictive. If we get 2,000, we know we're being too loose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, those are extreme cases, but
Right.
we'll know in
It-
10 days how accurate this description is relative to our need.
Yep.
And another trend that you're seeing right now in recruitments is, Keystone just incorporated, and they're paying over $200,000, and they only received 17 resumes.
So we might see 2.
It's a lot, it costs a lot less to live in Silt than it does Keystone.
Yeah, have you been to Keystone recently? There may be other reasons for that limited, I'm just saying. Not a
That's
judgment,
true.
Just an observation.
Yep.
The question, I think, when you were away, Bill, was, is Silt, would it be viewed as sort of an entry-level job? And how do you see that being attractive?
It's kind of a hybrid because you're not a large community, but you have, and knowing the valley, you have valley problems with housing and transportation and all those things. It's a trickle-down effect from Aspen to Glenwood to Newcastle to Silt. So I think it's kind of a hybrid. I think you're going to pick up some really good assistants that are looking for their first job. You might get some qualified people with 3 to 5 years under their belt that like the western slope of Colorado and the small town environment. I think you're definitely going to get some resumes, and I can say it because I'm 70 years old, but you're going to get some people that are with a ton of experience that are 60 to 65 years old that are still out there looking for jobs. But I think it's it really is a hybrid because you've got problems that are, or not problems, but issues that you're dealing with that aren't just a typical small town. You're dealing with everything that goes down that I-70 corridor. So I think it's just one of those that we're going to get some good ones. We're going to get some that you'll just go, why? And kind of go from there. But, the salary is getting better. It should attract some folks, especially from the assistant ranks. But I think you're coming in with a fair salary. So I think we'll get some resumes, some good ones.
Maybe go to that next question then, Bill. I think we've kind of nailed down that first one.
Yeah. Why don't you read it, because I'm still working off your old one before we added it back in. What's the
Okay.
next one, Jeff?
So the next one is, are you looking for facilitation skills to lead board retreats, work sessions, and meetings? Is that high on your list?
I don't know if I'd make that a high priority. If I was rating it on a scale of 10, I would probably put it somewhere around a 6 or 7.
Yeah,
But I would think if he's been a manager any place, he should have that skills already. I would think he's done that, because I bet every town's gonna require that.
You would hope so.
but if we go for more of a corporate, someone with more corporate experience, I know tons of people who are, C-suite, but they don't do that interpersonally. If you're the CTO or the CFO, for example, you're responsible for managing millions of dollars, not hundreds or thousands of people. Usually it's the CEO that ends up in that interpersonal space. They're the spokesperson for the brand, as it were. So I think being able to facilitate conversations, whether it's to 2 people or 200, is a fairly important skill for the town manager. But I would put it at a 5 or a 6 relative to the other qualifications. It's something they can grow into if they don't already have it.
Well, depending on what the work session's for and stuff too, there are outside experts that they can bring in, people like bringing Dana from
sure,
DOLA
right.
and those type of people to do that, that there's resources that they can use.
Agreed.
Yep.
And we do have a couple questions in here about communication skills and that kind of thing, so that probably plays into what you're talking about, Derek, to some degree. So, the third question, are you looking for the town administrator slash manager to be involved in community events?
I mean, I'd like for them to have an interest, but as to be at every single one, no, I don't think they would need to do that.
Yeah, it depends on what you mean by involved. As far as like running them, not necessarily, but participating and being around is because, I mean, that's one of the areas, as you know, Jeff, when you're there, is that's when people can pull you aside and say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, or just, hi, hello, how are you doing?
Right.
And it just helps develop those relationships with the community.
Yeah, a little bit of face time matters. They can pick their spots, but they have to pick some.
Yeah.
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 They should show up for trustees meetings, I'm just saying.
It's kind of important.
Yeah, but like at your big events and those kind of things, that, just out saying hello to the community goes a long ways, especially when things go wrong. If they know who your manager is and they already know the council, there's a trust and there's a feeling that you're all working together. That's why I put that question in there, because there are managers that don't go to anything. And when what hits the fan, it's a little easier to get negative against the government.
I mean, the role is relationship-based,
Yeah.
whether it's
Yes.
internal with staff, external with
Let's say,
CDOT and DOLA, and pick your acronym of choice regionally or statewide, but it's also the community, the public,
Yeah.
the residents.
That's it, yeah.
And
Yes.
to have that relationships, you have to show up.
I was gonna say, because relationships can give you some grace when needed.
And it
That was
usually
well put.
de-escalates things.
Yeah.
People will be a lot more empathetic
Yep.
when they're talking with you face to face versus, I don't know, going off on you on Facebook or something, or in an email.
Yep.
I think it changes the tone
Yep.
of the discussions.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I used the wrong word, but yes, be involved with it, but still,
it's-
is it a requirement to be at every single one? No, but still be involved, and like you're saying, be involved with your community, because, that's part of what we're looking for.
It may be as simple as showing up at the coffee shop and just chatting people up in the line for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be just big concert events and things. Again, I think as they get more experience within our community, they'll be able to gauge those opportunities against their other deliverables for that week. I've got to do these other things. I need to be on the AGNC call in 20 minutes. I can't do this right now in the coffee shop. They'll pick
Yeah.
their spots.
Yep.
I think if we find the right manager, he's gonna wanna be involved in events.
Desire to work over 40 hours. There it is.
There it is.
Mandatory.
Mandatory.
Keep them rolling, Jeff.
Is the board looking, is the town looking for a manager to basically run the town on a day-to-day basis, or someone who is visionary?
I'd say both.
I would say more operational, less strategic, and the reasoning for that is we have our strategic plan. So we have a map, so to speak, and I would hope that the town manager would align themselves daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually against that. Those are their guide points. Like, here's where I need to get to, how they get there along the way. That's why we're hiring them. But here's where you need to get to.
Yeah.
These are our strategic objectives. Get us there. That's what we're hiring them for. So focus on the operational.
No, exactly. But I mean, visionary as in, oh, hey, we need a new water plant, to start, getting the ball rolling, several years before, you absolutely have to have that,
Yeah. I've worked with visionaries. It tends to be very frustrating. That maybe my experience is different, but we're gonna do this,
do
and
this
I'm like,
today, and we're gonna
how?
do this
When?
You're
next
an
week.
extremely results-oriented
Seriously?
person. A
With this
data
budget?
person.
Come on, man.
Well, I'm guessing that a data person and a visionary may not align completely.
It's
Bill,
been,
what were
it's
you-
been a point of frustration.
What were you trying to get at with that question? Is that kind of the answer you're looking for?
Yeah, because it is both, and it's a mix, but it's really going to help the council when they actually start doing the interviews. And they can draw some of these things out of different applicants that will help you make your decision. That's why I put some of these questions in here up front.
Okay, and then the next one is strong communication skills with the board. And then the
that
second
coffee?
part of that question is monthly coffee or lunch with individual board members.
Yeah, we already kind of covered that, I think.
My vision might be completely different on this one, but I think the person needs to have a strong communication with the board at a meeting level. But like I don't think I've ever, maybe once, met the town manager for a cup of coffee on a Thursday afternoon. I think that when you start dealing with a town manager and one board person, while it's not a conflict of interest, it can appear to be that way. It's one person's making sure that they're feeding their ideas.
So they're
Someone
stacking
No,
the deck.
I agree, because the one person can skew a lot of things.
A lot of things, so. So I think they need great communication at the entire board level, but not so much as a one-on-one.
The thing I put in my notes, and it relates to what you said, Mr. Mayor, is that the communications are task-driven, not calendar-driven. So if the town manager has a question about water, he knows who he's going to. If he has a question about data, he or she knows who they're going to. But it's task-based incentives to maybe have a one-on-one or a one-on-two conversation. But the more general communication set should be across the board, literally and figuratively.
They should still be approachable, like an email, hey. you know,
Yeah, task-driven.
task-driven,
Can you tell me about X?
That should be
I've sent
welcome.
many of those to Jeff. Hey, what's
Be very
happened with
welcomed
X?
and opened,
Yeah.
and then talked about with everyone if necessary or whatever.
Yeah,
Good answer.
I don't want to set up a calendar of, oh, this Tuesday I've got to sit down with Derek. There's something they won't look forward to. But you know what I mean? Like it becomes a chore or an obligation. Whereas when it's task driven, hey, I've got to get to this end. They can help me get there.
Right.
Let's sit down and talk it out.
I think they,
That works.
I think they need to be willing to do that, to have those conversations, and those interactions, whether it's just responding to an email or picking up the phone and having that conversation. But, you know, when I first got here, I reached out. I thought that was what we were supposed to do, you know, reach out and offer lunch and coffee and all that kind of stuff. And most of you guys are busy. You know, you have your own lives. You got stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean,
You don't wanna-
we have full-time jobs and families and
And-
other
and-
stuff. Except for Jerry. Jerry's retired. He's got time. No, he's
I'll
involved in
admit,
enough
I've
boards.
had-
He doesn't have
I've run
time.
into, him at the coffee shop, and we've sat and talked. We didn't talk
Yeah.
about business, we just sat and talked
No,
about
I'm
general, I met him here a couple of weeks ago just to tease him about him retiring, so, I mean, I'll admit it, I did have coffee with him, but it was,
Yeah.
see if I could change his mind, but it didn't work.
Didn't work?
didn't twist his arm hard enough.
I told him how bored I am retired, and he still didn't want to listen.
All right. Are you looking for a strong background in affordable housing or any other particular strengths you're looking for? Any other issues of note that
Well,
you're looking for?
I would think right now with the way it's a nationwide problem, so I think no matter who we're gonna end up with, whether even if it's a CEO of a big corporation, they're trying to find housing for their employees. I think no matter who we get is gonna be kind of in the loop already on affordable housing, what's gonna happen.
But I also don't want them to bring Aspen's housing problem to us down here too, so that's the other spectrum of it too.
Yeah, I think I would say we're more looking for someone that's going to look at that strategic plan and decide what needs implemented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And affordable housing is a thing that's been a problem for 10, 20, 30
When you talk,
plus
like,
years, you know?
extra strengths or particular strengths, if you had somebody that had some backgrounds in budget writing, in grant writing and that kind of stuff, if they have those type of strengths, that's somebody that would be nice to have. I mean, because those obviously we're always looking for money and needing money and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we have Deborah Figueroa working with us, but with that going on, and his experience leaving possibly here soon and everything, that's a huge hole that we're gonna have possibly.
Yeah, my,
Grant writing, yes, I agree.
my comment that I put after that question is their strengths should be in leadership and relationship building, not in specific projects. Like, maybe 2 years ago, we needed a water plant expert, but that time has passed. And, those things are always going to be moving, and we can hire subject matter experts for specific projects. As a town manager, you need to be skilled with leadership and relationship building. And to your point again, aligning with our strategic objectives. Those should be their priorities.
Would the board support a change agent, quote unquote, type of town administrator manager? Bill, what are you getting at on that one?
Oh.
He's muted.
I guess that's
He's enlightening
what
himself.
he's getting at. Yes, I wasn't 100% sure on that one.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like Silt is looking for a change agent because it sounds like things are going very well. What I meant by a change agent is a council that once the manager leaves, they want to get rid of the public works director. They want to get rid of the finance person. And in small towns, that's kind of a rough go. But it was just one I threw out there just to see if anybody bit. And it doesn't sound like you have any concerns of having a change agent.
No.
So full disclosure, when I'm usually hired for a job, it's to be that. It's that they want to make drastic changes, either to team or project or some other major aspect of the business. And they bring me in and I do it, and then they show me the door and it's on to the next. And that's just the way it is. But I don't think that works for a town.
No.
There's a continuity priority that needs to be maintained.
Well, like you point out, it may not be a specific person in a specific position. It could be some kind of work culture issue or some procedure that we do or, something like that that needs to be beefed up or changed completely. So I think that's what Bill's kind of getting.
Yeah.
I don't think we need that role.
No, I
Again,
agree.
strategic plan, here's your document, get us there.
Okay,
Good.
Yeah.
everybody good with that?
Yes.
Would the selection of a less experienced up-and-comer manager be acceptable? Or are you more interested in a candidate with many years of experience, or does it matter?
And we kind of covered that already
Yeah.
earlier
Yeah.
when you were talking about it.
Yeah,
Any number greater than 0.
okay.
Like, you can't have none. I'm sorry, but the academic experience is very different from the real world experience. It just is.
I mean, there's people that get the academic experience, get out in the real world and go, what the heck was I thinking?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
And we don't want to be there, what the heck was I
Here's a
thinking?
flow chart. And then someone lights it on fire in front of you. It's a bad ending.
What are the qualities that you aren't looking for?
I wrote no dictators.
Yeah.
I was just,
I don't want someone who comes in thinking my way is the right way all the time in every scenario. That to me lacks empathy, and it lacks the sort of mindset that what I know about our staff culture, they'll be running for the exits. I don't want to hire one person and lose 20. That to me is not worth it. Again, continuity, strategic plan. They have to be aligned with those outcomes.
Good.
You're looking for someone that follows a strict chain of command with the board and the staff.
yes.
Yeah, that's a must. I
I
think.
mean, that's a yes.
Yep.
In municipalities, or else we end up in court, so.
Yeah.
I agree, yes.
And it's hard for the staff and the directors to take direction. If they're getting it from the town manager in some cases, and then we're lighting them up on their cell phone or calling them or texting them, the method we have works.
Yeah.
Is someone with a sense of humor important? I'm almost afraid to hear the answer to this one.
So,
I think so.
yeah.
I threw in a couple easy ones for you.
And
Yes.
on the chain of command one, just to throw in my 2 cents, information's got to go back up the chain as easy as it comes down, or it's not going to work. So it's got to be a two-way street on that. they've got to take feedback and take it back up and figure it out with you guys and then bring it back down.
Yep.
No, it's true. It's a good point. Yes.
Yeah, I think if we can jump back to 9 real quick, the qualities you're not looking for. I think there's a difference between a dictator and a micromanager, and I don't think a micromanager is going to work
Either.
either.
Yeah.
It might not be my way is the right way, but it's I'm going to be over your shoulder, making sure you're doing something. So,
Yeah, that
you
doesn't
have to have
work.
someone that has
Yeah.
trust in the staff to do their jobs and understand. And then, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a trust and verify. You want to check in with them throughout the project, but you don't need to be there every day because otherwise they don't need to be there.
yeah.
Yeah, because if he micromanages the managers, it doesn't work, because you're gonna lose staff real quick.
More staff, real quick.
Real more.
Sorry.
And he wasn't even micromanaged, or were you?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was nice. He pretty much, it's your department unless you got an issue. Do what you need to do to get things done.
So jumping down to number 12, are you looking for a team builder? I think we answered this question already too.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
And other
important.
neighboring towns and organizations, I think Derek mentioned that
Yes.
part is part of the job. Any other comments on that? And then last but not least, are you looking for a manager to build relationships with the business community? And that might be one of Bill's softballs.
The business.
It kind of was,
To a
but
point, yes.
Community.
Yeah, I mean, they're
You don't want it to get to the point where a business owner's like, well, shoot, I'll do this if you do this for me. So that's why I say to a point.
yeah,
Yes.
We talked about it with the
Okay.
chamber a couple of weeks ago. CRV, EDP's talking about it. You know, the business community is part of our community.
community. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can make that work. Bill, you got any follow-ups?
no, I think we're good on that. It's just a good way to start the conversation, and I think the council was spot on with those. So thank you.
So can we talk a little bit about the position title? Because as we write up the descriptions, one of the things we talked about, and I had mentioned earlier to you all, was this idea of using manager instead of administrator. Is there, after reading this, is there any,
A manager,
No, I'm fine with
100%.
changing
I
it
say
to
I don't have
manager. Yeah.
anything negative to say about it. There's no reason not to change, especially to give us more candidates and better, as long as it says in there that the attorney says it's not an issue to advertise it either way, it's not gonna cause us any legal problems, we can call it whatever we need to.
And, I did some research on the internet, going, what's the difference between the two? And I found just as many articles that said, okay, administrator's better, and
Oh,
the
did
same
you-
amount of articles that said manager's better.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well,
And when
All
I've
right.
worked at big companies, if we had to move someone above a certain pay threshold, but we couldn't make them a manager, we'd add administrator to the end of their title. So I may have a personal bias there. I'm a network administrator, I'm a systems administrator, because we don't want them managing people. So that was how we distinguished between those role sets and their responsibilities. But I also look at the other towns near us. I think Parachute, Rifle, they're all called town manager. So there's a consistency of title there that I think is going to get us more viable candidates.
Yep.
I agree, and I think Bill would agree to that as well. I did correspond with Mike, and I just saw him pop up on the screen here a little bit, and he made some suggestions. But Mike, since you're here, you want to just weigh in on that?
Yeah, no, it just, the job description or, the materials that go out just need to note that the appointment will be made as the town administrator because that's what your charter identifies. So, but I see no reason why you can't manage it or market it as a, town manager position.
And the one other point I'd make in this, and Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there ever is a charter change that you want to make, you would have an election, and you could throw this in as sort of a cleanup provision or something at that point. But there's really no reason to go through an election now just to make that small change, I would say.
yeah.
And who knows, by that time, maybe administrator is all the vogue.
Yeah.
Who really knows? Okay,
The other comment I have in terms of the marketing materials, I think they should include a link to the town strategic plan. I've heard that mentioned multiple times by members of the board, and it seems that a viable candidate should review that in advance of interviewing.
Yeah, because if they don't agree with that and that doesn't fit their thought process, then they shouldn't apply.
That's what they're signing up for.
Yeah.
they would be forgetting who the boss is then, wouldn't they?
But, and you'll see when you start interviewing, some of them will lead with that plan. They'll go in and find it themselves, but I think it's great to put a link.
Okay, anything else on that? Bill, maybe you'd be most appropriate to talk a little bit about the geographic scope of the search that we were discussing.
Yeah, one of the things I talked about with Jeff is a lot of bigger communities go with ICMA, and you'll get 200, 250 resumes from all over the country, and they don't have a clue where still Colorado is when they send in their resume. And you get so many, it slows the entire process down. And by concentrating on Colorado and Wyoming and Utah and maybe New Mexico, and use CML, Colorado City Managers Association, Colorado Association of Ski Towns, and your local papers in Grand Junction and Glenwood Springs, you're going to get a good field of candidates, and the word still gets out. You'll still get a resume from Florida. I'm not sure how they all find out about them, but they do. But if you start out too big, it really does bog the process down, unless that's what you want to do.
I'm not a fan of being bogged down.
I really hope we don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the only way we talk about people from other areas is maybe you might have somebody that's living in Florida that had lived in Colorado at one point in time or is interested in moving to Colorado.
And
that's looking for
they'll
that
find
position.
that posting
They'll find the
regardless.
posting.
Yeah, you
without
do
us
have
looking for it.
those exceptions, yeah.
Yep.
I like the idea of starting with a smaller pool, so to speak.
Yeah.
And again, we'll know in a
We can
couple
always
of weeks.
we can widen
Right.
our cast versus it's easier to widen it out if we're not getting people versus narrowing it down because we have too damn many.
I don't want to go through 400 resumes. That's just dreadful work.
You do that
It
at
really is. It's not fun.
It's not fun.
What do you got next, Jeff?
So compensation package, I think we had that written up as 95 to 150. I had touched base with ILG and Ann McCord, thought that was appropriate for our region. I've since reached out to some other managers in the area too. I'm still getting some responses back from that, and I'll let you know as soon as I get all those in. I sent that out late last week, and I've gotten a couple back, which surprised me. But I'll share those with you as I pull those in, and we may want to talk about modifying that a little bit.
And that gives the council a range to deal with depending on experience and that type of thing. It's a wide gap, and it gives you a little more negotiating power to keep a wider gap like that.
Okay,
True.
I like it.
And then I think we talked about leaving the use of the town-owned condo in there as well.
I have a related question about that because I didn't see it on this document, but maybe it's here and I missed it. How does the board feel about hybrid work? Are we going to have a mandatory minimum of, hey, you need to be in the office 2 days a week, 3 days a week? Like hybrid, generally speaking, should probably be in the job listing if we want to make it available.
I think a town administrator needs to be in the building.
Full-time,
Full-time.
all the time.
Especially to start with, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to clarify, because a lot of resumes that would otherwise come in won't.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I just want to make sure we clarify it so we know how to post it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
'Cause it's a big search
an
criteria.
in-office job, yeah.
Yep.
That's a good
So
question.
on-site mandatory, full-time would be, again, that should show up in the job ad. So the robots filter it out.
Okay, I think we've covered all of the major changes or the major work that we were gonna do, other than going over attachment A real quick. Bill, do you want to take us through that schedule that that proposed schedule? This is pretty aggressive because it counts on us being able to put together all these materials in time for the March 11th board meeting. So,
Well, my picture just went down again on this stupid computer. So read them off, Jeff.
okay, so we've got the March 11th board meeting where we would detail the process to you, and then you would approve of that process, give us our marching orders to execute the plan. That would mean that probably the next day, we would start advertising and formal recruiting, which means Bill and I both getting out and talking to our contacts out in the community. I'm sure we probably already have to some degree, and letting them know we've got this opening. We're closing just about 4 weeks later, actually just slightly short of 4 weeks later, on April 8th. I think, Bill, you were fairly convinced that 4 weeks would be enough,
It's pretty much standard.
okay? And then April 9th, that very next day, we would distribute the candidate packet. Sheila has agreed to put the packets together for all of you, and you can just start reviewing those. And then we would have an executive session on April 15th. During that time between April 15th and between April 9th and April 15th, Bill, you said you might have a few words of wisdom to lay on the board about what they should and shouldn't do during that time period.
Well, it's and your attorney can chime in too, but it's all very confidential until you pick your finalists, and it's best served not naming names to anyone, or if someone contacts you as a board member, I would say you need to follow the process, because that doesn't done very often, but it does happen, where candidates will call an individual board member or the mayor. It's just a good one to stay away from.
Or a board member might make a phone call to someone they think may know this person or that person, and that puts the thumb on the scale one way or the other for that particular candidate. And really, everybody should have the benefit of all the information all the time. So then April 15th, we'd have that executive session, and we would, or you would, select the finalists. There could be something that comes up that maybe you want to do some preliminary interviews first. I mean, who knows? I think the process is somewhat malleable that way. If you want to change it in the middle, you can certainly do that. But that would be the idea would be to select. What are you thinking, Bill? Like 4 to 6 names of finalists?
Yeah, and I think when Sheila sends out the resumes to the council, send along just a real simple scoring sheet that will help the process a lot. And amazingly enough, the times I've done this, the council comes back pretty consistent with their top 10, depending on the number of resumes. But 6 to 4 is a good number to interview.
So then we'd schedule interviews in early May. And I think one of the questions there was, are you willing as a board to set aside an entire day to do that? Or would you prefer to do that over a series of evening meetings? Or how do you see yourself handling those? you'd want to do them in a relatively, compact set of
You can't stretch it
time.
over too long a period of time, otherwise the process is gonna take forever.
Right, well, that, and you forget number one when you're doing number six.
Yeah.
I think you display them all and do it all together in a day.
Just pick a day and,
You
Pick a
have,
day, yeah.
you have the most data at one time, I would feel like.
okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start working toward that then. And then, of course, you would, once those finalists are picked, then we would start doing some due diligence on them, some kind of minor background checks and so forth. Because nobody wants to be embarrassed by the candidate that may have something in their past or pending criminal charges or something like that. You may know.
Innocent until proven guilty. Come on, Chuck.
I want to elect a speaker of
That's-
the House that has a.
That's true.
Charge is pending.
Does the rest of the board have any thoughts on doing a community meet and greet as part of that due diligence?
I think that's
Giving the community-
the early May interviews and getting to know the finalists. I'd love to have a night.
Where folks can just stroll in
Stroll
and
through
they
and-
hang out and mingle?
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Good, so if you go down to that fourth bullet point, you'll see identifying local stakeholders. In that area right there, we actually mention interview panels involving, different appointed officials, community members, schools, businesses, all of that. That would include, and it even says public receptions for finalists to address questions submitted.
Well, and that's
by-
something we could do maybe is if we're doing the interviews all in one day, if we had like on a Monday or whatever day it was, do the interviews throughout the day and then that evening have a open forum type thing where then
Just wear them down.
Just where.
you see if they're gonna make it or not. If they can't get through that, they ain't gonna be able to do the
They
job.
still want to work here at the end.
I'd like my resume back, please.
I think there's all kinds of there's a million ways to do this. I think Bill would tell you about one where maybe they come in the day before and the department directors take them out and take them on a tour of the town, show them what's important to them, show them what they're working on. And at the same time that they're talking about what they do, they're assessing these individuals as they ride along, what kind of questions they're asking, what's their ability to interact appropriately and so forth and so on. So, we could certainly put those kinds of things in there too.
And I think, Jeff, you've got some time to still work with council on if they want, you can use the department heads as a whole interview hour, and you can just do a little block thing where one candidate is meeting with the council, one candidate is either taking a tour with the department heads or letting the department heads interview them, or another one that I've used quite a few times that works really well is some of your other local town managers on a review panel that gives the report to the council on what they think. The only negative of using these types of other people looking at your candidates is you got to put a pre-qualifier in that says, we appreciate what you're doing. At the end of the day, it's the board's decision.
Or they're not allowed to hire the person.
Because I think it's very important, somebody from P and Z is involved in
Yeah.
interviews and stuff.
For sure.
That's really important because they're part of the town.
But I think you got some time to work on that one. I think we've really got some good points done tonight.
So I think that's kind of pretty much the schedule is, hopefully by,
It'd sure be nice if this works out.
right, end of June, first part of July, maybe we have a new manager on board. What other things have you thought about before we adjourn? I know it's
Start working on
time.
Saturday though.
Anything else that we should be thinking about, considering?
I have two items. One is members of the board should be aware that scoring sheets that they fill out about potential candidates are probably public record subject to core disclosure. So as you're doing that, remember, be civil in your comments on candidates. The other item is that there is a requirement that we have to publish notice of either a finalist or finalists for the town manager position for a period of time before a final offer can be accepted, I guess. So we need to build that into the time frame.
Not the only one. I got the same thing Justin was saying over here is June 29th is a Saturday, so their first day of
I
work.
doubt they'd
is
start
gonna
on a
be-
Saturday.
Well, it
Hours to work more
just
than
shows
40
your
hours.
current manager can't read a calendar. I don't know.
July 1st is probably.
I only knew that because a concert popped up that I was gonna buy tickets for. It's on June 29th.
That's that working more than 40 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Desire.
I'm hanging out here
In.
by
Let's
yourself
start on day one.
Saturday.
Start on day one on a Saturday.
They don't even have a key yet, but they're getting in.
Problem solving.
Ingenuity.
Yeah.
Testing them.
Test them, yeah. So, I think that all sounds good. I think this is a good start to this process.
Okay,
And,
we'll
that's it.
move it forward.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll take like 3 seconds to get